Hello, it's Dr. Nick Sotelo, OI Knowledge. In this episode, I'm going to talk about not getting hooked, or what do you do when you do get hooked as a staff. So before we get into it, the disclaimer is these are my thoughts and opinions based on my experience over 20 years with the Oregon Youth Authority. They do not necessarily represent the official stance of the Oregon Youth Authority. The reason why I do these videos is I want there to be a resource for people to plug into from one year to the next. And when I'm out and about and I listen to young GLCs, I hear them talking about the same things that I used to talk about 20 years ago, the same questions. That kind of bugs me. It also bugs me to know that there's some of the same people that were my supervisors are their supervisors. So it's not a matter of the knowledge not being out there, it's just not being transferred. We've experienced major drift. So this is an attempt to shore up the drift, give you the knowledge, give you some context. So here we go. Getting hooked, tapping out, what you can do. So I've recently been reoriented to Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements. And I think that that's a simple book that anybody, anywhere can pick up, read, and apply to their life and see massive, massive improvements. So I'm going to tap into one of the four agreements, which is never take anything personal. Don't take anything personal. So this is what happens when we get hooked. So what do I mean by getting hooked? This is when we as a staff lose our effectiveness in the face of a coworker or in the face of a youth that we are engaged with. So we start losing our effectiveness. We start taking things personal. And when we take things personal, we let our feelings take control, right? We shut off this part of our brain, the front part of our brain, and we start reacting from this part of our brain. And we say things that we shouldn't say. We are animated. We look distraught, angry, however that might look. Everybody has a different kind of look when they're hooked, and it's not a good thing. It's you can do damage when you're hooked. You can say things that you shouldn't have said. You can get yourself in trouble, policy and procedure wise, when you're hooked. And that's why we have teams. That's why we work in teams on living units, right? So that way when you see a coworker get hooked, you can tap them out. Establish a code word or a code phrase. And the way this works is if you have a team that agrees not to take anything personally. Because I've seen it many times where staff can take it personal that they're being tapped out because they want to prove that point. They want to be right in that moment. They don't want anybody to tell them that they're wrong or that they're not being effective. That's when you know that you're hooked. Okay? Everybody gets hooked at some point in time. We're all human. So don't hear that as a standard that you think that you have to be perfect, that you'll never get hooked, because we all get hooked. When we're having an off day, when things aren't going well outside of our work life, we're not feeling well, COVID, you name it. Those are vulnerabilities, pulling from DBT language. Those are vulnerabilities that are coming with us in this situation where we're expected to perform at this level, but because of our vulnerabilities, we perform at this level. So again, that might be a scenario where you come on shift and you just debrief with your coworkers saying, hey, I didn't get much sleep last night. I had to deal with this or that. So I'm going to be a little bit rougher around the edge. Help pick me up on this shift and I'll get you the next time, right? We used to have those conversations all the time as GLCs working as a team. So one of the common dynamics that staff can get wrapped up in is youth getting over on them, youth getting their way, youth manipulating. And there's nothing that burns you inside when you know that a youth has gotten the best of you, that they've lied, they've manipulated, they have omitted the truth in order to avoid a consequence or to get something that you've already told them that they shouldn't have. Those are some of the hardest dynamics to not take personal, right? I get it. I've been there. Still happens to me after 21 years, right? And people invoke my name and say that I gave so-and-so permission to do such and such. Happens on the youth side and the staff side almost every week. And I have to come back around and say, no, that's not the case. But don't take it personal. So that when you look into the 4 agreements, what is that maxim supported by? And it's something that I 100% agree with, that when you adopt the mindset of not taking things personal, you will learn to see that this life, this world is happening for you and not to you. This job that you have for the Oregon Youth Authority is an incredible opportunity to learn how people function, how they work, how they think, how they feel, how they respond to everyday scenarios. You got a front row seat to that. And I'm telling you, the people skills that you can pick up by doing this job, particularly at the GLC level, are invaluable if you choose to see them as life happening for you and not to you. Far too many people, and it's not just our agency, but far too many people, feel like they're a victim to their employer. Oh, I don't like to go to work, and I don't want to be here, and this job doesn't pay me enough, and everything sucks about it, on and on and on and on. That's you being a victim, and while you're a victim, you will not be learning the lessons that you need to be learning from life happening for you, not to you, in your job as a GLC. I started out as a GLC, and it was a GLC with a bachelor's degree. Okay, I chose to. I didn't have this mindset entirely back then, so I don't want to lie. But at some point in time, it clicked, and when it clicked, I was able to look back on all of those times as a GLC and just look at everything that I was learning, and it's kind of like plugging me in, with Morpheus into the chair, right? And getting it all uploaded into my head. So here's one big thing that staff need to learn is you've already won. You've already won. You have the power because you get to leave the gate pretty much whenever you want, right? Even if you just walked up and quit your job, you have that power to leave your job without too much of a consequence, other than not having a job and not getting paid and maybe having a ding on your reference check if somebody were to call and check out your performance with us. But again, not like the youth. The youth can't get up and leave whenever they want. They can't. So just by that dynamic alone, you've already won. So don't take it personal. Don't take it personal when they get 5 extra minutes in the shower and you told them not to. Don't take it personal when they get an extra phone call. Don't take it personal when they spread a lie about you to other coworkers or other youth. That's about them. That's not about you. And that's coming straight out of the 4 agreements, right? But you have to realize that what people do is rarely because of you, and nearly 100% of the time it's because of them. It's because of their life. It's because of their reality. It's because of their belief system. That's what causes them to do the things that they do and say the things that they say. It isn't about you, right? Don't think you're so important that everything that happens around you from what other people do is somehow targeted towards you, and it's about you and it's because of you. It's not. And the sooner that you can learn that lesson, this applies in your personal relationships too. When people say things that are connected to you as family that hurt you, that's mostly a reflection of what's going on for them inside of them, not you. So don't take things personally, right? Now, don't misunderstand me. We have to hold kids accountable, and you have to hold the youth accountable from a genuine point of view. Means you got to hold yourself accountable. Jason Redman, retired Navy SEAL, wrote the book Trident and Overcome. One of his mantras is lead yourself first Lead yourself always. So if you're going to hold youth accountable, you need to hold yourself accountable. And that accountability isn't you punishing the youth for some infraction. No, your unit should already have a pretty good list of here's the expected behavior and here's the response that happens when you don't meet the standard. Have it all set up front. And the list should be pretty tight, pretty succinct. Where things get off kilter is when you got 50 things on a living unit, that a kid can and can't do, and you're trying to, cat and mouse that whole thing. That usually will break down. Will break down, which is why I'm a big proponent of on-off level. So when the infraction comes, the response is already set. It's not you punishing. This is actually the youth. It's what they agreed to. They agreed to by being part of your living unit, that community, that this is what we do on this living unit. This is how we use our words and our actions. This is how we get our needs met. And if we do something other than that is not beneficial and it's hurtful to somebody else, and this is the response. Okay? You don't have to take it personal. You don't have to get hooked or animated into it. Just lay it out for them. That's the best form of accountability. Okay? So, when kids say nasty things to us, right? When kids do the neener in our face, when the kids say, fine, I'll just wait till your boss comes in, then I'll get my way. Okay? Again, you get to leave. You get to leave those gates. You get to get in your vehicle, or however it is that you get home. You get to order Uber Eats, turn on Netflix, and you get to leave. You've already won. You have all the power. They know that. That's the reason why they get nasty in order to get to you, right? That's about them. They have this belief that they got to hurt somebody else before they get hurt. That's often the story of traumatized kids, that it turned to be externally aggressive. So that's their belief. That's their reality. It's our job to help shape that out of them. Okay? We only do that by exposing them to better ideas. We only do that by helping them learn a better skill set. And that comes from you. It doesn't come from punishment, right? And it definitely doesn't come from you getting hooked and you blowing your cool and you saying things or you being vindictive. Right? Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. You also gotta be bought into the long game. LONG, the long game. Where so much of the time we're so worried because of the way our schedule works, right? The GLC schedule of, rifling kids through a bunch of required tasks in a short amount of time. I get it. It's a grind. And because of that, we get locked into the short game. And the short game looks like the next 5 minutes, the next 15 minutes, maybe the rest of your shift. But you've got to be locked into the long game. And what is the long game for youth? Well, the long game for youth is at the shortest 4 months. 4 months. If a youth comes in with OYA charges, not heavy person-to-person stuff, they come in with OYA charges. If they were to string together 4 good months, good meaning, here's another tip for you GLCs or whoever is watching this video. There's only 4 things that a kid needs to do well while they're with us. Doesn't matter if they're at McLaren, Rogue Valley, Eastern, Tillamook, doesn't matter where they're at. 4 things. IU, doesn't matter where they're at. Good peer relations, good staff relations, taking care of business in school, taking care of business with treatment and skill building. Those 4 things. So when kids go, I don't know what I gotta do to get out of it. Yes, you do. It's those 4 things. So, are you having good relationships with peers? Well, I just got in a fight last week. Okay, wrong. So you don't have that one. What about good relationships with staff? Well, I just cussed out so and so. Okay, bam. Now you got 2 out of the way. Are you going to school? I'm not going to school. 3. Okay, right? It's easy. Those 4 things, and you will be zipping through our system. Okay? Those 4 things, you wouldn't be in our system. That's the stark reality of it. So, that was a tangent. Let's see if I can get back to where I was going to be with this. I may have lost it. Take a sip of coffee and see what happens. Not fully caffeinated yet. Long game, that's what it was. Whew. There we go. So you got to play the long game. If a youth came in and took care of those 4 things from day one, starting at intake, they would be able to move on to the next lower level of supervision, whether that's going home, going to foster care, going to a residential program, okay, or going to one of our camps. Again, that's another big hack. Those are usually the 4 places that a kid can transition to. The quicker that we know what the transition target is, the easier it is for everybody on this side of the fence. Going home, going to foster care, going to a camp, going to a transition program. I've rarely seen anything other than that. Long game. So, if kid's under unit day 1 and you're looking at least 4 months, and the kid wants to lie, cheat, manipulate day 1, day 2, whatever it is, let them do it. Hold them accountable. Because all that's doing is adding to the reasons why he or she can't say I'm doing well in one of these 4 areas. And if you can't say that you're doing well in all 4 of those areas, it just means that you're going to be with us longer. That's it. Again, even in that, don't take it personal. You choose to not go to school, all you're saying to us is that you want to be here longer. If you choose to solve your problems with aggression, all you're saying is that you want to be here longer. If you choose to not follow staff directives and cuss them out and say hurtful things, that's okay. You get to choose that. All that's saying is that you get to be here longer. Okay? And then document those things, the good and the bad. JLCs, you want to have power, you want to have influence, document those things, right? So that way when your CC is looking every week to sum up how that youth's been doing, so that way when they do their quarterly reviews or monthly reviews and quarterly reviews, all that info is going to be there, right? And that's what I would tell youth. It's like your PO is going to come or call or both, and they're going to want to know how you're doing. You get to control everything that comes out of my mouth and everything at the tip of my fingers. All you got to do is take care of these 4 things. That's all it is. So as a GLC, if you're observing, holding kids accountable, exposing them to better ideas, helping them build skill, document it. That's all you got to do. Right? You have all the power. Don't get hooked into the other stuff. Don't take it personal. Play the long game. Now, some kids, I learned this kind of more recently from I think it was Bruce Perry. He's a trauma expert, and he's done some training with the Oregon Youth Authority about 3, 4, 5 years ago now. Some kids have to learn that fire is hot by putting their hand in the fire or by touching the red hot stove. So some kids, they just have to learn that way, and we have a lot of those kids. Categorically, we probably have a majority of those kids that have to learn through experience, even when it's dangerous. Okay. Some kids take our word for it, take their caregiver's word for it. That's hot, don't touch it. Okay, I don't want to touch it. Okay. Not everybody works that way. And that was kind of a new thing, right? Because I always thought that it was a matter of being smart versus not smart, or having respect for the people around you versus not. Some people just need to learn the hard way. It's the way they learn, unfortunately. And I think we have a lot of kids like that in our system. So again, don't take it personal. That's about them, it's not about you. Play the long game. Now, the long game is best played when you build a relationship with the kids, when you have rapport with them, when you get to understand how it is that they came to a place to be where they think the way that they think and feel the way that they feel. Right? Because when you understand the why behind how somebody thinks and feels, then you can really start to learn how to be effective with that person. co-workers included.